Hey everybody, it's Paul from Cary Estate Planning back with another video as part of our 2020 challenge. And today I want to talk about stimulus checks and amounts received for people who have passed away prior to the check being received. So we've had a few estates open recently and surviving spouses reach out to us asking questions about stimulus checks received on behalf of a deceased loved one and what to do with them. Most recently, it was a surviving spouse who received a joint payment for $2,400, direct deposited in just recently, right before the beginning of May. And the letter she got that confirmed the amount being distributed was made out only to her. So the general answer is that the IRS wants that money back if it was allocated to or distributed for the benefit of a deceased individual. So the IRS generally does a pretty good job of cross-referencing the Social Security Administration's centralized death database, but sometimes things fall through the cracks. And so unfortunately, some kids on behalf of their deceased parents or surviving spouses on behalf of their deceased spouse have received stimulus checks, whether they're in paper form or in direct deposit. So I wanted to talk just briefly about what we should do if you did receive a stimulus check on behalf of a deceased loved one. So if it was a paper check, the IRS wants you to basically write void on it and send it back. And so if you're in North Carolina, you would send it to the regional IRS location in Memphis, and you basically would include a note stating why you're returning the check. If it's a direct deposit, you're being asked to cut a check back to the IRS in the same method, basically sending it to the Memphis facility with a note as to who it was meant for, that they have predeceased the receipt of that stimulus amount, and that you're returning it accordingly. If it's a joint deposit account, an amount allocated to a deceased spouse that was made payable to the surviving spouse, the same rules apply. The $1,200 or the portion that was meant for the deceased spouse still has to be returned. The idea is that these stimulus funds were meant for living people, and they were supposed to be advance credits on 2020's return. So if they're not living at this point, or by the time they received it, the money was not meant for them. Unfortunately, it adds a little bit of burden to our families and families of loved ones who have passed, but that's the way the IRS wants to do it, and failure to do it can result in penalties and adverse action, which is something you want to avoid. So if you have any questions about how this may impact you or an estate of a loved one that you're trying to settle, you can click the link below and you can get on our calendar to discuss options and what you should be doing at this time. This is Paul from Cary Estate Planning.